In other news, Japanese citizens are divided on who should succeed Prime Minister Fumio Kishida, who will step down after the ruling party holds its leadership election on Friday. Well, according to public broadcaster NHK, polls with lawmakers and party members show strong support for three candidates, and they are Shigeru Koizumi, son of former Premier Junichiro Koizumi, whom we profiled yesterday, if you recall, and representing the LDP's right wing, there is Economic Security Minister Sanee Takachi, who will be the first woman to lead the country if elected.
有力的には石破さんとか高市さんが出てきている中で、やっぱしちょっと初めての女性総理じゃないですけど、ちょっとなってもらえたらまたちょっと政治も変わるのかなと思って、高市さんちょっと応援しようかなと思ってます。
Well, as you heard there, the other hot favorite is former Defense Minister Shigeru Ishiba. And Michiyo Ishida explains the chances of a breakthrough for this veteran politician.
Shigeru Ishiba is hoping the fifth time's the charm as the 67-year-old gets ready for yet another race for the top job of the ruling Liberal Democratic Party.
自分の38年の政治生活の集大成と位置づけ、最後の戦いとして全身全霊をもって挑んでまいります。
A banker turned politician, Mr. Ishiba was elected to the lower house of parliament in 1986. He held various cabinet posts before and was Minister of Defense in the Yasuo Fukuda government between 2007 and 2008. Running for LDP president for the last time, Mr. Ishiba made an eyebrow-raising proposal for a NATO-like security framework in Asia.
集団安全保障、そういう機構がアジアには存在をいたしておりません。日本国の独立と平和、そしてアジアの独立と平和、これをどのように維持をしていくのか。
The former LDP Secretary General first threw his hat in the party leadership race in 2008. At that time, he got the least number of votes in a five-horse race that saw former Prime Minister Taro Aso emerge the winner. Mr. Ishiba ran again in 2012 in another five-way battle. In 2012, Mr. Ishiba had more support from the local LDP chapters than any other candidates, but lost in the runoff against Mr. Shinzo Abe, as rank-and-file members were not allocated voting entitlement. And Mr. Abe won. This time, local chapters can vote in the runoff, but are entitled to only 47 votes. Still, it will represent just 13% of the total votes that will be cast if the election goes into a runoff on Friday. It's a system that's been criticized for failing to give adequate representation to the grassroots of the party. In media polls, Mr. Ishiba is consistently ranked among the top favorites for LDP president. But in this election, the public cannot vote. Mr. Ishiba is factionless like his younger opponent, Shinjiro Koizumi. The difference is, Mr. Koizumi already has the backing of a party heavyweight who is also a former prime minister, with Yoshihide Suga throwing his support behind the 43-year-old. Michiyo, Ishida, CNA, Tokyo.
All right, for more, let's chat with Michiyo Ishida, joining us live from Tokyo. So, Mitch, we know that Mr. Ishiba, he's been, one of the most popular LDP politicians, but he also didn't land the top job so many of the times previously. So how is it going to be different this time round?
Well, the well-known reason why he didn't land the job is he's not so popular among Diet members. One, he doesn't belong to a faction. Analysts say he doesn't go out to socialize or go out for drinks, which is crucial in the Japanese society to befriend people. He also soured relations with then Prime Minister Taro Aso. When Mr. Aso was Prime Minister and his approval rating was low, Mr. Ishiba reported to have demanded Mr. Aso to step down. And since critics say there's been friction between the two, And Mr. Aso has his own faction. The Aso faction has over 50 Diet members and could affect the result of the election. And gaining the support of the biggest Abe faction is also crucial, but its owner, the late Shinzo Abe, was Mr. Ishiba's rival twice in the LDP presidential race. So critics think Mr. Abe's faction members will not support him. By the way, the Abe faction is set to dissolve soon for playing a major role in the political fund scandal, which surfaced late last year. But Mr. Ishiba is trying, at least, his people supporting him are trying to appease Mr. Aso and the Abe group. Now, at the National Press Club during the candidates' debate earlier this month, Mr. Ishiba was actually asked about what he needed to gain party support. And this was his response.
顔が怖いとかこればっかりどうしようもないのでありますが、そこもなるべく笑顔が必要だよねと言われるので、心がけておるところでありますが。
Well, Mr. Ishiba confessed he may have hurt people's feelings from time to time because what he believes is correct. It's difficult for him to withdraw, but he's learning to be more compassionate and to listen to others, not just to blurt out what he thinks is correct.
Sounds like he's got a pretty dry sense of humor there. But I want to touch on his foreign policy, though, because Mr. Ishiba, he has proposed a NATO-like security framework in Asia. Do you think this proposal is going to help him gain support within the party in any way?
Well, one of his rivals in the LDP presidential race, Party Secretary General Toshimitsu Motegi, who was also foreign minister, Mr. Motegi said in a debate earlier this month, he didn't think the Asian version of NATO was realistic. Now, Mr. Ishiba tried to explain and justify his position. He said in the Asia-Pacific region, there are U.S.-Japan Security Agreement, U.S.-ROK, South Korea Security Agreement, ANZUS, or the Security Treaty of Australia, New Zealand, and the U.S., the five-power defense arrangements of the U.K. He said Japan can first of all join ANZUS and make it JANZUS, as in Japan, JANZUS, and then include Asian countries with shared views. He wants to also join the Five Eyes, or a five-nation intelligence framework of the UK, Australia, New Zealand, Canada, and the US. And he's lined up all these security proposals on the back of the war in Ukraine. He thinks that because Ukraine was not in NATO, the war in Ukraine took place. And he thinks it's time to consider how to protect the independence and peace of Japan, independence and peace in the rest of Asia by forming its own framework. Now, he explained, given the security environment in the region, with more talking about East Asia could be the next Ukraine, he decided to run at this time in the party race. And Mr. Ishiba has his own idea when it comes to defense and security. Japan hosts about 50,000 U.S. military personnel, with the majority, the big presence in Okinawa. Japan has no security presence in the United States. And Mr. Ishiba proposed opening Japan's self-defense force base in the U.S., aiming for a reciprocal agreement. Now, all this to step up Japan's deterrence. Now, on the back of frequent natural disasters, it's another unique proposal which comes from him. He wants to establish an agency for disaster prevention and mitigation. He said he stayed overnight in evacuation shelter to understand the needs of disaster victims. And he's known as a firm supporter of rural revitalization, one reason why local LDP chapters support him. But the key for him is to win this election is by gaining support from Diet members.
Well, it sounds like it's shaping up to be a really exciting LDP leadership race. Looking forward to that on Friday. Thanks so very much, Michiyo Ishida, joining us live from Tokyo.